Welcome to Parents Make a Difference, and I'm your host, Josie PV. Today's guest has dedicated most of her life to education. She's a founder of a private school, and I am looking forward to hearing her journey. I'd like you to welcome Marie Lardino. Marie, welcome to Parents Make a Difference.
Hi, Josie. How are you? Hope you can hear me. I'm outside in a piazza in Tuscany, so I hope it won't get too noisy. Good
We
to
can
see you.
hear you. Oh, it's so great to have you all the way from Italy, from Tuscany, joining us here. Um,
Yeah. No,
so
it's good to be here. It's good to be there.
I'm hoping that you can share some of your journey. You were a teacher as myself. You were a
I
teacher
was.
and decided to open up a private school. What
Well,
inspired you
it's
to do that?
I always wanted to have my own school. I think since I was a child. I think I was like 4 years old when I decided that. But yeah, it's been a long journey through trying to I was a single mom and. I taught in a very young single mom. I was 22, and I taught in. At that time, I got my Bachelor of Education back then, and I taught at different schools, all public schools, um, very good ones, but very different ones, one from the other. So I taught, in a school that was right in the center of the city at Spadina and College in Toronto, and then an alternative school, which was also public, and then in the beaches area, which is a completely different. It was a completely different experience. And at every school that I was at, I was sort of working on a philosophy of education and doing research on that. That was called global education, and so I was working on on specialists at the same time, and I was doing workshops in the United States on conflict resolution, and I got involved with York University on a big project to figure out how kids resolve conflicts, which was very well known and at the time, and so I got a chance to go around in different places and talk about it, and it felt to me like I taught grade six every year. I taught grade six. I like grade six. I taught other grades, but I really enjoyed grade six, and every time I had parents come to me and say, you should start your own school. You should start your own school. Of course, I wasn't ready. But after I started teaching on the beach, I taught there for, I think it was like 4 or 5 years. Altogether, I taught for the public system for almost 12 years. And, um, and these, parents kept asking me, they really enjoyed my class. Their kids were really changing, and I felt very proud of that. Um, very honored that they really, enjoyed me as a teacher to their children. And I don't know. In my last year at Balmy Beach School in the beaches in Toronto, I had a group of parents come to me and say, um, in particular, there was one parent who was very helpful, Julie Bush, and she worked very hard with me to get a new school. So we started with 14 parents, which is totally unheard of, and they came from my grade six class. So they're the founders, along with me and their parents, and we started in a church. So it really wasn't my personal decision. It was their decision, and they pushed me into it in a way that was, best thing that could have happened. Um, Now, by then, I had my master's degree and I had my principal's qualifications. So I wanted to have that before I started the school because you need the credibility, right? So we started in a church, and that was a
Wow.
long time ago, 25 years ago.
Yes, and you know what? You did a lot of your education after your degree while you were a single mom. Is that my understanding?
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yes. She's right there in the piazza of
Yeah. So I'm in the
Tuscany.
piazza. Yeah. So
So you might hear some background. It's
some people
okay.
are leaving right now, so I'm able to continue talking. It's Italy.
It's Italy. I know you love being there, right? That's one of your dreams.
Yeah, it is my dream. It wasn't my dream at the time. It became my dream. And my
Later.
heritage is Italian, so that helps. So you were asking me about, my journey as a single mom. Yes, when I was a teacher as a single mom, it's a very interesting story because I'm a huge risk taker, and I always have been my whole life. And so for me, I mean, starting at school, I remember seeing the director from the ministry, one of the people, at the ministry, come and say, you need these many kids to start a school. And I said, I have them, and we have the location, and we have the curriculum, and here it is. And he said, you have one chance in 500 to make it in the
Wow.
first year, and who are you? you know, who are you? So it was. I took a leave of absence from the board, and I did it that way. And then the school succeeded after the 2 years and 3 years, and so it was great. But as a single mom, I mean, going back to that, yeah. So it was just my wonderful, beautiful daughter and me, and she was little and very patient with her mother. So at the time, I was working for an insurance company, and I was doing really well there. And she was very little. She was only a year when I was working in this company, and I don't know. I think one day I looked around me and I saw a lot of people who'd been there for a long, long time, years, in fact, like tens of years. And I asked, how long you been here? And 30 years, in the same cubicle. And and I think that was a fork on the road. I think it was. I, I I decided at that moment that there was something else ahead for me. It was an intuitive moment. Um, it was just intuitive. And I remember going to the washroom and saying, looking in the mirror and saying, "This is not you, is it?" And I remember that moment perfectly. And I that evening, that afternoon, before I went home, I talked to the manager, and I said, I'm just take my resignation because my life, I have to leave. This is not it. And then right away, I found, a job doing, all kinds of other, teaching aerobics and in a club in Toronto, and I was teaching dance because I did dance at the time, and I bartended a lot, and yeah, my daughter and I, like, we were like, I mean, I was her mom, but she was always always there asking, when are you gonna write your last essay, mom? Because at that time I went back to university to finish my degree. Um, so that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the moment when my life, I think, changed.
You took
And the
risks.
interesting part was that I would write all my essays usually last minute.
Hmm.
That's how it works for me. I do this at the last minute. I write at the last minute, and my daughter would, get out of bed sometimes that she can't sleep, mommy, and she would say, "Is this your last essay?" And I would say to her, it's no, it's not my last essay, but I think I need to keep doing this because I feel something is going to be good for us. And the interesting thing about that was that my back was turned to, because we lived in a co-op on the Esplanade, um, yeah, called Windmill Line, and it was a beautiful place. It really was. It was a great life for her, and I had my back turned to the distillery district, and in the distillery district is where I made the comment to her, but the distillery district is where the school eventually became Voice Integrated School. So the dream was behind me.
Wow. And you decided to take the risk because a lot of times I think a lot of us parents, um,
Yes.
a lot of us
Can you?
we might have that inner voice telling us to do something, but we don't do
Right.
it. We don't take the risk. So I think the difference is that you decided to listen to that voice and take that risk. You know, I sometimes I think of a story of someone they went to the cemetery and they said, this is where most dreams are, right here, but they were never accomplished. But when you got that voice that said to do something, it was scary, I'm sure.
Yep.
You had no idea how it was going to turn out.
No, no, it was a moment. I've had a few moments in my life that have changed because, but I wasn't a stranger to risk. Even as a single mom, I was definitely not. I'm not. I've never been a stranger to risk as long as I can remember. So the fear was for me when I take a risk. Um, usually it's very calculated. That was not a calculated risk. That was a very spontaneous kind of risk. But usually I take very I do a lot of research before, and I guess I did do the research because I think the research in that when I first began as an educator and I decided to go back to university, do my BA. I did my BA in Spanish, Italian, and French, so it was languages and film. I did that before my B.Ed, but I think it was about. I think it was the research was my life. It was my experience. It was the essence of who I am. I think. So you, for me, it's just another step forward. In when you do that as a child, I mean, I was one of those children who didn't have the traditional family. It was a very kind of unstable childhood. It was. I had to adapt all the time. I mean, it was a childhood of what adapting to change, constant change, different homes, different schools. My parents were divorced when I was very little, so the different schools, different friends. So I think instability. That's my feeling. I mean, that's me, but instability lends to adaptability, and then adaptability lends to risk taking. That's what I think. Yeah, you just put one foot in front of the other, and I don't really think about the end of the journey. I don't look at it as if I start now, that's what's going to happen. Um, I just think about it as today.
Well,
Yeah.
that's, you
So
know what? It's wonderful that our parents are hearing this because sometimes life is not going the way we want it to. And and you know what? It's great to see that even though you can still make something great happen, which you did. You started this private school. You went with what your belief was. You took risks. And I think all of us should take a little bit more risks. We need to decide, but everything can be scary. But when given, we can create our own opportunities. And I love the fact people were encouraging you. So I don't know, the parents out there, maybe someone's encouraging you to do something. But taking that
um,
risk is
yeah,
or else you're going to be exactly where you are right now. We don't,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, it's all about following the dream. I mean, the dream of becoming an educator. I don't know if that was a dream. That's just me. That's just part of my story. I always wanted to be an educator, and I wanted to do everything I could to get there. But also, I believe that you needed to have, you know, the not just the experience and the story behind it, but also, you know, it had to become academic for me. I had to go to university and learn the language I needed in order to teach. I think everybody's an instinctive teacher, but to me, I felt like I needed the language in the structure that would teach me, what it was, and it's really valuable. Obviously, it really is. But yeah, I mean,
That's no,
risk.
that's
It's
wonderful.
just,
That's
yeah, you're
wonderful.
stuck. Yeah, I'm glad. I always look back and I say, what would have happened in my life had I been afraid and not quit that job? Um,
Now,
I
even
mean,
your the school, well, maybe you can share with us
okay.
what
The
one thing about
yeah.
it that
So
made it special, one thing that
oh,
made it
it's
unique in the
yeah.
education.
Well, I ran into a philosophy during my master's degree. I wrote some. I wrote for UNICEF. I wrote for you know all kinds of publications, and about global education at the time, which I have since changed the perspective. And but at the time, it was a beautiful, holistic, but also academic. So I took a philosophy, and I was the first person, with the help of the theorists, um, of the which was a because the Global Ed Institute was at OISE, and so I put it into practice in my own school, and by putting it into practice, I, I took a philosophy that was just, it was a theory, and adapted it to the classroom, into the Ontario curriculum. What I ended up with is a very holistic, a very interconnected model of education, really, um, with a really huge focus on critical thinking.
So, if for
Um,
parents out there, how can we help our kids to become more critical thinkers? Give one strategy. Let's say one
Critical
strategy.
thinking. Okay, so I always, through my research, my experience is that um, critical thinking, yeah, it is a skill. It is a skill, but there's no such thing as a class. You can't have a class of critical thinkers or of a discussion. You take it uses you need a lot of strategies to do it. So it's inquiry driven. Yeah, in terms of a model in school, if to create a critical thinking environment, you have to infuse these questions. You have to infuse debate. You have to infuse all kinds of strategies into every single subject. Never ever use it as an add-on, because that's not what it is. It's an infusion. It's something that you believe in, and you believe in the you believe in the potential for children to be able to ask questions and answer them, and figure out the answer, and they can, and as soon as they get practice into this, as long as there are different kinds of debates and different kinds of analysis on different issues, and um, as soon as it's everywhere, it becomes everywhere, and then whatever it is that you're looking at, you can't unsee it. That's what it is, and you analyze it. So I think it's a combination of many, many, many things, but it works best when the school is doing all of this in conjunction with a home. I mean, obviously, and I think it's also a type of intelligence too. There are kids who are very quick, to think critically and ask questions, and it's just a type of intelligence as well. But I think critical thinking definitely can be taught. Yeah,
So, asking more questions, having debates, is
definitely, and
something
and not
where,
not just any debate, not just any debate. Like when you think of a debate, you would think of when you think of a debate, you think of two sides arguing with each other, or presenting each other's opinions on any certain issue. But it isn't that. I mean, that is
part of it.
part of it, but that's not the most effective way to do it in terms of debate. So a better way to do it would be to, well, first of all, kids had to get out there and analyze what they're reading, analyze, is it true, is it not true, how do I know it's not true? That is all very, very important. Who's lying to me, who's not lying to me, do I believe it, do I not believe it? That's all part of critical thinking. It's not just doing math, and um, it is problem solving too. But let's say that you posted an ambiguous kind of like kind of statement on the whiteboard, and that statement was, people should be allowed to break the law. It doesn't have any qualifiers to it. It's just a blank statement, which is gray. It doesn't. And so you ask the kids that are sitting there. You say, look at that statement and do not talk to anybody. And I'm going to split you up into different groups and decide if it's true or false, but don't tell anyone. So they begin to do that. They look at it and they clarify their values against that statement. Everyone should be allowed to break the law, or people should be allowed to break the law. Not everyone, people. That makes a difference. People should be allowed to break the law. So you get them into groups when agree, strongly disagree, disagree, or don't know. They cannot know. And you tell them that, well, they're discussing it in their groups of where they, affirmation, where they agree or disagree, in their, with their, or by themselves, wherever they went, that they can change their minds. What this means is that they clarify their values against an ambiguous statement. There's no qualifiers to the statement. They think about it. They change their minds when they hear other opinions on it, and you end up with, that's just one method. Okay, I'm just giving you one activity, and you end up with a discussion at the end, which tells you, well, so kids are going to get up and say, for example, well, if you're starving, you have to break the law. You have to survive. If you
Hmm.
have no food, if you have nothing to eat, and you're a child, for example, on a street somewhere in a city where you are homeless, you're gonna break the law. So the discussion becomes about what should you have added. If I said on the statement, if you were starving, could you break the law? You're gonna have a different grouping, because everyone's gonna see it differently.
Hmm.
Um, so it depends what you're posting, and
Right.
it's fantastic. So that's one way to teach critical thinking, is that you need more information, a bigger context to understand any certain issue.
Yeah, and so even encouraging our own kids at home,
Yeah, you
go
can
out
do
and get
that.
more information instead of just taking
That's right.
whatever they see as face value, to ask more
100%.
questions, right?
Ask more questions, take different media clippings or articles, and compare them. Teach history, like our history classes were always from uh, the perspective of not just the textbook, because that's not critical thinking. That you're just learning to regurgitate information. It was that, but there was a balance of what was in the textbook and a comparison, for example, to what you saw in a document at the time. That this really happened. Is this true? Is it false? Can we analyze what the writer said? Who wrote the textbook? Who wrote that? All those questions, no matter where you are in whatever class, are really important, because it extends the thought process of thinking inside the box. And you want kids to learn outside the box. You want them to be lateral thinkers.
Yes, yes. And I mean, we can, as parents, we can do that at home too. We
For
can
sure.
try. We can try.
Absolutely.
Have more conversation. I know sometimes we don't have enough conversation with our kids because life gets
Yeah.
busy. So
Yes.
I think it is important to have more of those conversations and help our kids to think outside the box. And you can do it from young kids, have them.
100%.
It doesn't matter if it's grade one, if it's grade seven, if it's, first year university. It
Oh,
ranges really.
it's a continuum. Yeah, I mean, my kids, our kids are boys, because our school is very well known for this critical thinking, dealing with anxiety. Kids, I mean, we don't have a special education. We didn't program, but it's just a home. It's just an amazing, incredibly safe place for them to actually be able to participate in their, they use their voice, right?
Right.
Beyond being academic and leaving there in grade, A with, to go into IB programs and get A pluses, which most, so many of them have. But they go into high school, and they would put up their hand to answer a question, and it became very common for teachers to say, what school are you coming from? And they would say VIS, Voice Integrated School, and then, oh, I should have known, you know.
So they
So
were,
that was,
their voice was heard. They were able to have confidence to share their opinions and share their
yeah.
stance on things. That's
And as
wonderful.
long as you're not offending anyone, everything's about perspectives. I mean, you can't just rely on one perspective. You have to have many perspectives. Some are from your peers, some are from different sources that lend a different perspective to anything, any issue, anything. That's important. So yeah, I think that's the difference. I think that is the difference. But it's, like I said, it has to be infused into every single class. It's not an add-on. People think it might be, but it is not.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear that you um, helped your students to be more critical thinkers. That's what we need more in the world. We need problem solvers. Um, we don't need to be. complaining about the problem. We need to be solving the problem. We need to be working on solutions. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you take risks, that you had this inner voice and you decided to move towards that. You know, sometimes we could say, I should have, I could have, I would have, but you actually did, even though it was tough. And
It was. I think, many times, the school became, it was in the distillery district, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful building, stunning. That did not, I could have done it in the basement of a church, that's not the point. But it was a beautiful space. The kids loved it. And but we closed. I closed the school in July. It was 25 years.
with
And,
a big accomplishment right there, 25 years that it's been
well,
around. And
people say you close your school, and I always say, what, the school, you can't close it. It's like it left me. I didn't have control over a lot of things, a lot of what happened in the school in my last years. I mean, I left in my middle 50s because I semi-retired and left the school to another principal, and then I came to Italy. I've been here for 9 years,
yes,
and in Canada.
you've been doing one of your passions, you've been following another
Yeah.
passion, another love. uh,
Well,
you're
yeah,
an
I was tired.
artist. You're an
Yes, well, I was
artist.
tired.
And
I was I was tired. I was tired. I mean, I'm always going to be an educator, but think about it. Single mom. I was married again and divorced. Two other children who are now in their 20s. But and then I became a single mom again. I divorced. So I was like me, my my older daughter, my teenage daughter, and my two kids, and then I was managing a school. I mean, it's like this life of tremendous like busyness and
yes.
and then on top of that, and people would say, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I would say, well, I have no choice but to do it. I probably did have a choice not. I have a choice not to do it. I just decided to do it. That's who I am. That's just can't change it.
Well, I
And
love that you're out
so
there. You're out there helping people. You're out there helping these kids, trying to raise their level of thinking. You know,
plus
do you
the
have
school
any
had
students come back? Do you have any students come back to you and
all the
just come and
time, and it's
share?
unbelievable. Oh, it's incredible. It's quite remarkable. Yeah,
Can
they
you
do, of
share maybe
course.
one story?
The school closed in July, and so I have so many stories. But as soon as that happened, I mean, they found out about it, and they were pouring into the door, and by then they were like from different grades. So it was amazing how upset they were. And the thing about the school, that first of all, we offered art, we offered visual arts, every single subject, all the arts, two languages, and then of course all the basic subjects plus life skills, dance, theater, everything. So it was a home for everybody. I mean, accommodated all kinds of gifts and talent. It was an amazing place, just truly amazing. At the end of the school year, it was a very typical experience for kids to. At least I remember when I was there, because I left. You remember, 9 years. I left it to a different principal, but um, they were, to cry, to hang on to the wall. They didn't want to go. They didn't want to go to. They didn't want to go for the summer. They didn't want to leave. Oh, it was, yeah. Some kids tying their laces on and on and on, and because they wouldn't leave the building. What is different about it, in my research, looking back, is the philosophy is out there, and it's now an echo beyond my school. It's voice integrative, but now it's the echo is so loud, and it's resounding. It's far reaching. It's their children. It's them. It just continues. Um, yeah, and we were like a family, really. I mean, we
That's
had our issues
beautiful.
like every school.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. I'm not saying we didn't, but we were a family, and the kids felt like they were in their second home. They felt safe, and there was no bullying. It's conflict resolution is was very zero tolerance. My school, very zero tolerance. But it wasn't because I imposed it as much as they figured out the value system. The value system is, respect yourself, respect others, and respect the environment. All the rules had a reason, and so you build a value system, and I'm not saying we didn't have our issues, because we did. I mean, there was, but in general, bullying was, because that was my strength in terms of research too. It was very, very diminished in our school. It was just the kids felt safe.
That's beautiful. Well, you know what? I'm sure
If
you made a huge difference in their lives because, and you'll never even know the impact that you made just by
no,
starting off the school. They say, how many apples will come from an apple? Really, an
oh,
apple, the tree, many apples, more seeds, and it goes on and on and on. And, I know you as a human being, and you're very kind, you're very giving. You've welcomed us in Tuscany in your home, and we had a great time there. And I can see that your school there would have been a feeling of people just feeling
sorry.
at home,
Uh,
at home.
yeah.
But I thank you. I thank you so much for sharing with us today because you know what? You had the guts to pursue
Well,
what was in your mind. And I
it
hope
was,
that parents have the guts to do that and help their kids have the guts to pursue maybe that inner
their
thought that
dreams.
they have, something they want to do.
And it's very interesting because when I came to Italy, I mean, my dream as a little girl was not just, I used to paint and draw too when I was little. And I did that for years, but I abandoned that dream in order to become, a teacher. And then, I decided that, that I was not going to be an artist. My mother didn't want me to anyway. So that was another, she didn't think it was something that, as you know, right, was going to pay off. Um, but at one point, I decided to learn to be a realist artist. So I decided that I was going to come to Italy, and I lived in Florence for about 2 years by myself. My kids were already grown up; they were in university by then. No, they were, yeah, university starting. So I did. I spent months in Switzerland and with incredible master painters, and then another in France with another master painter, another realist. So I learned the different genres, the different forms, the different from different historical periods in Italy. And I started painting, doing oil, um, and it's called a grisaille. So it's like Renaissance. And it requires a lot of skill, but yeah, I believe that, just like I did about education, you need your background to become the best educator you can be, regardless of your talent. You need something else, and so you do need that training. You do need it. Same thing with art. I think, I don't want to be snobbish about it, but you have the art, you have the talent, you have the gift, you have the background, you have the want for it, and you the willingness to learn, and then when you do that, you do whatever else you can to refine it. The best part is that when I did that, I was able to go back to the school, even though I wasn't the principal anymore, and then try and be a role model to the kids about what you can do if you take risks.
That's wonderful. No, that's wonderful. And even to me it makes me think for us parents if there's something that we have a passion for and haven't done it yet because we're spending time raising our kids that it could be a later thing. It could be another season in their
100%.
life. And so, but we
Oh,
all should be doing something that if you have a gift in an area, that gift, I hope that parents out there use it because you were given it for a reason. So if it's not now, when you are, if your kids are younger, if you're very busy, a busy household, working and taking care of the family, it could be a later thing. But you need to get excited about something because when you're excited about something, you're better off for your kids. You're better off for your kids.
100%.
And get
And
our
it's never too late.
never
You
too
gotta love
late.
yourself. You gotta love yourself. You've gotta you have to take care of your inner child in order to be a good parent. You have to say, who was I as a child? What did I need? Can I tap into that? Can I tap into who I was? What do I need? If I was holding my child by the hand right now, what I want that child to do?
Yeah. No,
um,
it's
you still want to be the best parent you can. You don't want to be the perfect parent. And you just the best that you can. I mean, you can only do your best. That's all you can do, and you
And
have
we
to
can
be
keep
happy with it.
learning. Keep
You can
learning,
keep
right?
learning,
Keep
keep
learning. Be
learning,
lifelong learners.
taking risks. I'm not always going to pick up and move. I still live in Toronto. I still have a place in Toronto, even though this school is closed. But now I live most of my life here in Tuscany. And I left Lawrence and I came and I have a house in Tuscany now here in my town, which is stunning. I live in one of the most beautiful towns in Italy, actually. And um, I feel very, very happy. Like I'm very fortunate.
You're very blessed. You're very blessed. But
I am very blessed.
you also put it out there. I remember you mentioning that you would put it out there and you worked towards it and you kind of focused that you were going to get it, right?
Yeah. I think that's like a manifesting thing. Yes, that's something that's I've really, really thought about how you manifest things. I think in order to arrive at something, you have to feel like you're there. You have to imagine yourself there.
Yes.
I think that's manifesting to me. I think you have to say, I want my house to look like that. Well, that's it. Is it in your mind? Is it in your? You see it. You see it. You feel yourself there.
Mhm.
Um,
And
and
that
you
is
have to.
that I mean for being a single mom and getting an education and through that and then opening up your own school and then your next chapter in your life living in another country in
Yeah.
a place that you love and adore
Oh.
and painting and I know you've also done you've purchased some places and a little bit
Oh
of real
yeah, yeah.
estate,
Yeah, I
but
did that. Yeah, so
so the thing
I
is
started out with
it,
nothing. Yeah, and I kept
right,
buying
starting off with nothing, from one
nothing,
end to the other, and so
and then one
manifesting.
after
I
the
mean,
other.
that's amazing. That's amazing, and I'm
But it
hoping
was such
parents
a big,
out there, no matter where they're at, you know,
yeah,
listen to people
do
who
it.
are achieving, and try to get a nugget for them. And I hope you got a nugget today from Marie Lardino because I love your story. I love your story.
Oh, and I love being here. Thank you so much for having me, Josie.
Thank
Anytime.
you, thank you for being on Parents Make a Difference. So I hope
Oh,
parents out there that you can get something from Marie Landino's story, her journey, because I know I have. And I'm excited for you because today is the beginning of whatever you want to make happen for yourself and for your kids. And for your kids. Give them some of this information that they can make things happen. Thank you, Marie, for joining us. Parents,
thanks for having me, Josie. Thank you.
thank you. Parents, remember, you make a difference.